Alright, assalamu alaikum. We are doing Surah 8, which has 75 ayats, and it was revealed at Medina after Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, Hijrah from Mecca, and was completed after the Battle of Badr, which was the first defensive clash between Muslims in Medina and Muslims in Mecca after Muslims in Medina fled persecution in Mecca. Alright, let's get this started. This surah is called The Spoils of War. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. They ask you concerning things taken as spoils of war. Say such spoils are at the disposal of Allah and the Apostle. So fear Allah and keep straight the relations between yourselves. Obey Allah and His Apostle if you do believe. For believers are those who, when Allah is mentioned, feel a terror in their hearts, and when they hear His signs rehearsed, find their faith strengthened, and put all their trust in their Lord, who establish regular prayers and spend freely out of the gifts we have given them of sustenance. Such in truth are the believers, they have grades. Such in truth are the believers. They have grades of dignity with their Lord and forgiveness and generous sustenance. Just as your Lord ordered you out of your house in truth, even though a party... 5. Just as your Lord ordered you out of your house in truth, even though a party among the believers disliked it, disputing with you concerning the truth after it was made manifest, as if they were driven to death and they actually saw it. Behold, Allah promised you one of the two enemy parties, that it should be yours. You wish that the one unharmed should be yours, but Allah willed to justify the truth according to His words and to cut off the roots of the unbelievers, that He might justify truth and prove falsehood false, distasteful though it be to those in guilt. Remember you implored the assistance of your Lord, and He answered you, I will assist you with 1,000 of the angels, ranks on ranks. Ranks on ranks on ranks. 10. Got a little fuzzy. Allah made it but a message of hope and an assurance to your hearts. In any case, there is no help except from Allah, and Allah is exalted in power, wise. Remember He covered you with a sort of drowsiness to give you calm as for Himself, and He caused rain to descend on you from heaven to clean you therewith, to remove from you the stain of Satan, to strengthen your hearts and to plant your feet firmly therewith. Remember your Lord inspired the angels with the message, I am with you. Give firmness to the believers. I will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. You smite above their necks and smite all their fingertips off them. This because they contend against Allah and His Apostle. If any contend against Allah and His Apostle, Allah is strict in punishment. Thus will it be said, you taste then of the punishment for those who resist Allah is the chastisement of the fire. O you who believe, when you meet the unbelievers in hostile array, never turn your backs to them. If any do turn his back to them on such a day, unless it be in a stratagem of war. I think that means strategy of war. Hold up, look, it's a cat. I think that means strategy of war. Hold on. Cats find me everywhere. All right, back to 16. I love cats. My apologies. I'm just on vacation and it's so random for a cat to just walk up. I just never seen that. So I go back to 16. If any do turn his back to them on, thank you for your patience and just understanding my maybe excitement. Animals are very therapeutic for me, so it's just beautiful. 16. If any do turn his back to them on such a day, unless it be, and I'm going to say that's a strategy of war, or to retreat to a troop of his own, he draws on himself the wrath of Allah and his abode in hell, an evil refuge indeed. It is not you who slew them, it was Allah. When you threw a handful of dust, it was not your act, but Allah's, in order that he might test the believers by a gracious trial from himself. For Allah is he who hears and knows all things. That, and also because Allah is he who makes feeble the plans and stratagems. I believe that's strategies of the unbelievers. O unbelievers, if you pray for victory and judgment, now has the judgment come to you. If you detest from wrong, it will be best for you. If you return to the attack, so shall we. Not the least good will your forces be to you, even if they were multiplied. But verily Allah is with those who believe. O you who believe, obey Allah and his apostle, and do not turn away from him when you hear him speak, nor be like those who say, we hear, but we do not listen. For the worst of beasts in the sight of Allah are the deaf and the dumb, those who do not understand. If Allah had found in them any good, he would indeed have made them listen. As it is, if he had made them listen, they would but have turned back and declined faith. O you who believe, give your response to Allah and his apostle when he calls you to that which will give you life, and know that Allah comes in between a man and his heart, and that is he to whom you shall all be gathered. And fear tumult or oppression, which affects not in particular only those of you who do wrong, and know that Allah is strict in punishment. 26. Call to mind when you were a small band, deemed weak through the land, and afraid that men might despoil and kidnap you. But he provided a safe asylum for you, strengthened you with his aid, and gave you good things for sustenance, that you might be grateful. O you that believe, do not betray the trust of Allah and the apostle, nor misappropriate knowingly things entrusted to you. And you should know that your possessions and your progeny are but a trial, and that it is Allah with whom lies your highest reward. O you who believe, if you fear Allah, he will grant you a criterion to judge between right and wrong. Remove from all evil that may afflict you and forgive you. For Allah is the Lord of grace unbounded. Remember how the unbelievers plotted against you to keep you in bonds or slay you or get you out of your home. They plot and plan, and Allah two plans, but the best of planners is Allah. When our signs are rehearsed to them, they say, "We have heard this before. If we wish, we could say words like these. These are nothing but tales of the ancients." Remember how they said, "O Allah, if this is indeed the truth from you, rain down on us a shower of stones from the sky, or send us a grievous chastisement." But Allah was not going to send them a chastisement while you were amongst them, nor was He going to send it whilst they could ask for pardon. But what plea have they that Allah should not punish them? When they keep out men from the sacred mosque, and they are not its guardians, no men can be its guardians except the righteous, but most of them do not understand. The prayer at the house of Allah is nothing but whistling and clapping of hands. Its only answer can be, "You taste the chastisement because you blaspheme." The unbelievers spend their wealth to hinder men from the path of Allah, and so will they continue to spend. But in the end, they will only have regrets and sighs. At length, they will be overcome, and the unbelievers will be gathered together to hell, in order that Allah may separate the impure from the pure, put the impure one on another, heap them together, and cast them into hell. They will be the ones who have lost. Say to the unbelievers, if now they desist from unbelief, their past would be forgiven. Their past would be forgiven them. But if they persist, the punishment of those before them is already a matter of warning for them. And fight them on until there is no more tumult or oppression, and religion becomes Allah's in its entirety. But if they cease, surely Allah sees all that they do. If they refuse, be sure that Allah is your protector, the best to protect and the best to help. 41. And know that out of all the booty that you may acquire in war, a fifth share is assigned to Allah, and to the apostle, to the near relatives, orphans, the needy, and the wayfarer. If you do believe in Allah and in the revelation we sent down to our servant on the day of discrimination, the day of the meeting of the two forces, for Allah has power over all things. Remember, you were on the hither side of the valley, and they on the farther side, and the caravan on lower ground than you, even if you had made a mutual appointment to meet. You would certainly have failed in the appointment, but thus you met, that Allah might accomplish a matter already decided, and those who died might die after a clear sign had been given, and those who lived might live after a clear sign had been given. And verily Allah is He who hears and knows all things. Remember in your dream Allah showed them to you as few. If He had shown them to you as many, you would surely have been discouraged, and you would surely have disputed in your decision. But Allah saved you, for He knows well the secrets of all hearts. And remember when you met, He showed them to you as few in your eyes, and He made you appear as is that like contemplating? Contemptible in their eyes, that Allah might accomplish a matter already decided. For to Allah do all questions go back for decision. O you who believe, when you meet a force, be firm and call Allah in remembrance, much and often, that you may prosper. And obey Allah and His apostle, and fall into no disputes, lest you lose heart and your power depart, and the patience and persevering, and be patient and persevering, for Allah is with those who patiently persevere, inshallah. And be not like those who started from their homes insolently, and to be seen of men, and to hinder men from the path of Allah. For Allah compasses round about all that they do. Remember, Satan made their sinful acts seem alluring to them and said, "No one among men can overcome you this day while I am near to you." But when the two forces came in sight of each other, he turned on his heels and said, "Lo, I am clear of you. Lo, I see what you do not see. Lo, I fear Allah, for Allah is strict in punishment." Lo, the hypocrites say, and those in whose heart is a disease, these people, their religion has misled them. But if any trust in Allah, behold, Allah is exalted, wise. If you could see when the angels take the souls of the unbelievers at death, how they smite their faces and their backs, saying, "Taste of the chastisement of the blazing fire, because of the deeds which your own hands sent forth, for Allah is never unjust to his servants." I'm going to read 50 over. If you could see when the angels take the souls of the unbelievers at death, how they smite their face and their back, saying, "Taste the chastisement of the blazing fire, because of the deeds which your own hands had sent forth, for Allah is never unjust to his servants." These, after the manner of the people of Pharaoh and of those before him, they rejected the signs of Allah, and Allah punished them for their crimes. For Allah is strong and strict in punishment, because Allah will never change the grace which he has bestowed on a people until they change what is in their own souls, and surely Allah is he who hears and knows all things. These, after the manner of the people of Pharaoh and those before them, they treated as false. These, 54, these, after the manner of the people of Pharaoh and those before them, they treated as false the signs of their Lord. So we destroyed them for their crimes, and we drowned the people of Pharaoh, for they were oppressors and wrongdoers. For the best of beasts in the sight of Allah are those who reject. For the worst, 55. For the worst of beasts in the sight of Allah are those who reject them. They will not believe. They are those with whom you made covenant, but they break their covenant every time, and they do not have the fear of Allah. If you encounter them in a battle, deal severely with them, as to put terror in those who follow them, that they may remember. If you fear treachery from any group, throw back their covenant to them, so as to be on equal terms, for Allah does not love the treacherous. Let not the unbelievers think that they can get the better of the godly. They will never frustrate them. Against them, make ready your strength to the utmost of your power, including steeds of war, to strike terror in the hearts of the enemies of Allah and your enemies, and others besides, whom you may not know, by whom Allah knows. Whatever you shall spend in the cause of Allah shall be repaid to you, and you shall not be treated unjustly. But if the enemy incline towards peace, you also incline towards peace, and trust in Allah, for He is the one that hears and knows all things. Should they intend to deceive you, verily Allah suffices you. He it is that has strengthened you with His aid and with the company of the believers. And moreover, He has put affection between their hearts. Not if you had spent all that is in the earth, could you have produced that affection. But Allah has done it, for He is exalted and might wise. O Apostle, sufficient to you is Allah, to you and to those who believe you among the believers. O Apostle, rouse the believers to the fight. If there are 20 amongst you, patient and persevering, they will vanquish 200. If 100, they will vanquish 1,000 of the unbelievers, for these are a people without understanding. 66. For the present, Allah has lightened your task. For He knows there is a weak spot in you. But even so, if there are 100 of you, patient and persevering, they will vanquish 200, and if 1,000, they will vanquish 2,000, with the leave of Allah, for Allah is with those who patiently persevere. It is not fitting for an apostle that he should have prisoners of war until he has thoroughly subdued the land. You look for the temporal goods of this world, but Allah looks to the hereafter, and Allah is exalted in might, wise. Had it not been for a previous ordainment from Allah, a severe penalty would have reached you for the ransom that you took. But now enjoy what you took in war, lawful and good, but fear Allah, for Allah is all-forgiving, most merciful. O Apostle, say to those who are captives in your hands, if Allah finds any good in your hearts, He will give you something better than what has been taken from you, and He will forgive you, for Allah is all-forgiving, most merciful. But if they have treacherous designs against you, O Apostle, they have already been in treason against Allah, and so has He given you power over them. And Allah is He who has full knowledge and wisdom. For those who believed and adopted exile and fought for the faith, with their property and their persons, in the cause of Allah, as well as those who gave them asylum and aid. These are all friends and protectors, one of another. As to those who believe but came not into exile, you owe no duty of protection to them until they come into exile. But if they seek your aid in religion, it is your duty to help them, except against the people with whom you have a treaty of mutual alliance. And remember, Allah sees all that you do. 73. The unbelievers are protectors one of another. Unless you do this, protect each other, there will be tumult amid oppression on earth and great mischief. Those who believe and adopt exile and fight for the faith in the cause of Allah, as well as those who give them asylum and aid, these are all in very truth the believers. For them is the forgiveness of sins and a provision most generous. And those who accept faith subsequently and adopt I don't think that I'm saying it right. And adopt exile exile, maybe exile from like unbelievers, and fight for the faith in your company. They are of you, but kindred by blood have prior rights against each other in the book of Allah. Verily Allah is well acquainted with all things.